Josh, we've spoken previously about Donald Trump's strategy with the Ukraine-Russia war and the goal of having Europe contribute in a much more meaningful way to their own defence. And it looks like Trump has again managed to get the outcome he wanted, despite all the hysteria, all the doomsday commentary we've had from politicians and commentators, including, I've got to say, disappointingly, some conservative commentators who should know better. Stop getting hysterical about the rhetoric. Look at the bigger picture, look at the strategy, look at the outcomes. Let's hear now from the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Europe is ready to assume its responsibilities. Rearm Europe could mobilize close to 800 billion euros of defence expenditures for a safe and resilient Europe.
Josh, did the president get his way again? He's been wanting this, and really it should have been in place all along. Europe shouldn't be depending on America to defend it from Russia or any other aggressive force.
Yeah, it strikes me as another huge diplomatic, geopolitical, foreign affairs victory for the president. You know, this very much builds, Rita, by the way, on what he accomplished the first time around. So the first time around, you know, Donald Trump also ruffled a lot of feathers when it comes to NATO. People tend to forget this, but he basically came in there and he said in a series of speeches and pronouncements, you know, you guys are not pulling your weight there. You know, the NATO treaty obligates you to spend at least 2%, ideally 5% of your gross domestic product on defense spending, on military spending there. And if you look back over his first term from 2017 to 2021, the total number of European countries that actually met that bare minimum 2% threshold roughly doubled. It was an astronomical increase there. So he's done this before, and he's doing it yet again there. But look, Donald Trump is a nationalist, okay? He believes in strong, sovereign, independent nation states there. What that means is that the United States is going to best partner with Europe when Europe can actually take care of itself, when Europe can actually take care of its own backyard. This notion that the U.S.-European alliance thrives when Europe is basically a glorified satrapy, when they're basically a province of the global American empire there. That's not a recipe for long-term United States European stability. Frankly, it's not a recipe for long-term stability when it comes to the United States and any other country around the world that we've been allied with in the past there. So this is the Donald Trump foreign policy doctrine. It worked like a charm, frankly, the first time around, and it's off to a heck of a start this time around as well. I frankly think, Rita, it's only going to get better from here, if I had to guess.
Yes, I mean, we've seen NATO be strengthened. We've seen the European nations that have basically have done very little finally start contributing to their own defence. And yet we've got the hysterics acting like this is the end of the world and democracy itself is under threat. Now, before you go, Josh, this is one of the most disturbing developments, but sadly entirely predictable. We are seeing some horrific footage out of Syria, religious minorities, including Christians, being tortured, being slaughtered, men, women, children. And this horror was, as I said, sadly predictable. Tulsi Gabbard was amongst those who warned us about what would occur, but there were people celebrating what happened in Syria, thinking this was going to be the dawn of some new age of democracy and human rights, when we've got Islamists in charge there. And when Islamists are in charge, minorities are slaughtered.
So this goes back at least as far as the Arab Spring, which started back in 2010, 2011, around there in Tunisia and really all throughout the Arab world there. You had this massive conflation with many people on the neoliberal left and the neoconservative faux right. You had this massive conflation between democracy and Islamism, where you saw kind of this democratic uprising or this populist uprising, but this populist uprising was being done in the name of what? In the name of Sharia supremacy, of Islamism, of radical fundamentalist Islam there. And, you know, that's basically what happened here in Syria. I mean, Bashar al-Assad, let's not mince words. I mean, an absolute monster. I mean, a death toll of hundreds and hundred thousands, arguably over 1 million, an absolutely horrific person there, a total pawn of the evil Iranian regime there. And the world is better off that he's not in power. But we should not be pretending like the current guy in charge, al-Jilani, who was a peripatetic jihadist over his entire career there, former Al-Qaeda there. These are bad, bad, bad people there. And frankly, at this point, they're basically just an extension of Recep Tayyip Erdogan and the increasingly radical regime in Ankara, Turkey there. So the Middle East is totally in flux, but this is obviously on a pure humanitarian level, an absolutely horrific situation there. Rita, one thing I will add briefly is that Israel right now is extending its reach into southwestern Syria, is trying to protect the Druze minority that is there in that particular part of the country there. Maybe there'll be some sort of momentum for kind of an autonomous Druze mini nation state or something. That would be a fantastic development. Frankly, it's something that the United States, I think, actually would do very well to get behind. But at a bare minimum, let's not treat these absolute jihadist thugs in Damascus like they're anything other than the thugs that they are.
And I think you're 100% right there that there would be support in America for some sort of intervention to try to protect those religious minorities. I think that is the sort of military action that Americans, maybe not an enormous majority, but I think many Americans would be comfortable with. Josh Hammer, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rita.